Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well friends, I'm feeling in the mood to look at another Neverland related movie, which is funny to mention since my friends at Musical Theater Village are almost done with their Peter Pan show, and I only have 5 more chances left to perform as Mr. Smee before the show ends on July 2nd. And with the summer season beginning today, I've decided to look at the 3rd Tinkerbell spinoff. So, released to DVD and Blu-ray on September 21st, 2010, the movie is Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue. And now, on for the plot of the movie. Tinkerbell and her friends attend a summer fairy camp on the mainland in England. Out of curiosity, Tink goes to visit the nearby human house, followed by Vidya. While there, Tink accidentally gets stuck inside a handmade fairy house and befriends a little girl named Lizzy who believes in fairies. Tinkerbell's fairy friends go to rescue her, and they believe that she was captured by the little girl until they make it to the house, and Tinkerbell shows them that she's a friend. Tink then must take a huge risk to keep all of fairy kind safe and help Lizzy and her father fix their relationship. So, what do I think of the movie? Well, in my opinion, this was a really sweet and heartwarming movie. And to further explain what I'm talking about, let's move on to Mustang notes. Now, there's not too much trivia to talk about, but all I can say is that the film was directed by Bradley Raymond, who directed Pocahontas 2, The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, The Lion King 1.5, and of course the first Tinkerbell movie. The studio responsible for the CGI animation is once again Prana Studios, who also did the animation for Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return, and the Planes movies. Plus, the film was produced using digital 3D modeling. Also, early on in development, the crew interviewed several 6-year-old to 9-year-old little girls whom were asked, "What would you do if you caught a fairy?" And all of them said, "Tea party." Also, this was one of several direct-to-video Disney films that had a limited theatrical release. As for the animation, well, in my personal opinion, the CGI animation in this film is pretty good, and while this movie doesn't mainly take place in Neverland, I find it interesting that the Pixie Hollow fairies have a camp on the mainland, which is based in the countryside of England. And I agree with Tink that the fairy camp is like Pixie Hollow, all under one tree. Also, I think the human cottage where the Griffiths live looks like a really nice, quiet place. Some of the most memorable moments in this movie, in my opinion, are the scenes where Tinkerbell's friends journey through a rainstorm without using their wings to get to the human house in hopes of rescuing Tinkerbell, and I like the film has a couple references to the original Peter Pan play, like when it mentions how a fairy is born. Also, I find it pretty funny that not only was the film released a day after I turned 20 years old at the time, but it was also during the same year when I went to London for my first time with my family. And thank Disney it wasn't raining that much during my experience there. However, my one nitpick is that the film doesn't technically explain why fairies are not supposed to go near humans or their houses, despite the fact that years later, Tink would bring a human boy named Peter Pan to Neverland. Now let's talk about the songs featured in the movie. First, there's Summer's Just Begun, performed by the film's narrator, Cara Dillon, during the film's opening and ending. To me, this really is a wonderful song, and it's the kind of song that you'd likely listen to during the summertime. Next is the film's main song, How to Believe, performed by Bridget Mendler. Now this would have to be my favorite song in the whole movie, and in my opinion, this song is really sweet and magical, and some of the lyrics really do pull at my heartstrings. Plus, this song really is inspirational, due to it helping folks, young or old, believe in their dreams, their childhoods, and fairy magic. Also, I love that the song is played while Tinkerbell teaches Lizzy nearly everything about fairies, while she takes note about it in her field journal. And now, let's talk about the characters and their voice actors. The title character, Tinkerbell, is once again voiced by Mae Whitman, whom was Katara in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Yuvi from Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3, Shanti from The Jungle Book 2, a young Patricia Whitmore in Roland Emmerich's Independence Day, and Dharma from the first Rock Dog movie. To me, not only is Tinkerbell a hard-working Tinker Fairy, but she's also very clever, observant, sassy, and fun. Plus, like in the first movie, she still has curiosity for stuff from the mainland, and she's also easily ticked off. During this movie, I like that Tink forms a close friendship bond with a little girl named Lizzy, and she becomes flattered by the child's fascination with fairies. Also, while spending time in her cottage, not only does Tink teach Lizzy about fairies, but she also fixes the leaks using a pipe system made from a hose, a boot, and a funnel. Plus, she hopes to help Lizzy gain quality time with her father in order for them to grow more closer than ever. Tink's friends are as follows: Rosetta, voiced by Kristen Chenoweth, Iridessa, voiced by Raven-Symoné, Silvermist, voiced by Lucy Liu, and Bobble and Clank, voiced by Rob Paulsen and Jeff Bennett. Unfortunately, America Ferrera did not reprise her role as Fawn in this or the other Tinkerbell films, so instead, she's voiced by Angela Bartise. In my opinion, these fairies are still as memorable as they were in the first movie, and I like that they work together with Vidya to try to rescue Tinkerbell. Also, I like the scene where they, along with Blaze and Cheese, build a boat, and the scene where they tame Lizzy's cat, Mr. Twitches, with catnip. Next we come to Tink's former rival, Vidya, voiced again by Pamela Adlon, whom was Pajama Sam from the Humongous Entertainment CD-ROM games, Lucky from the 101 Dalmatians animated series, Ashley Spinelli from the Recess series, Shinra from Final Fantasy X-2, Rosie from Sophia the First, and she was also in Bumblebee, aka Nightformers. To me, during this movie, despite her negative traits, Vidya ultimately has a good heart, most notably seen where she follows after Tinkerbell to ensure that she stays out of trouble, and she uses her wind ability to trap her in a fairy-sized house in an attempt to teach Tink a good lesson on how dangerous human things can be. When Lizzy ends up taking Tink to her home, Vidya puts all of her differences and animosity aside to rescue her, feeling responsible in the process. Upon this adventure, Vidya reforms completely and is shown to be much friendlier with Tink and the others. Now let's move on to the new characters, starting with Elizabeth Griffiths, or Lizzy for short, voiced by Lauren Mote, who mostly has been voice acting in several video games. Lizzy is a dreamy 9-year-old little girl with a strong belief in fairies. She is aware that fairies can change the seasons and make nature possible. Other than that, Lizzy enjoys spending time with her father, who is usually too busy to spend quality time with her, much to her disappointment. In my opinion, Lizzy is a cute child, And I think her friendship with Tinkerbell is really, really sweet. Plus, I find it pretty interesting that Lizzy is the very first human that Tinkerbell has ever met, before Peter Pan or the Darling Children. Also, aside from researching the Neverland fairies, I like the part where Lizzy has a little tea party with Tink, and I like the scenes where Tink gives her the ability to fly using pixie dust. By the way, I know this may be a bit off topic, but for many years now, the part where Lizzy says that she wished she could be a fairy kind of makes me wonder what it'd be like if Tink could ever turn her into a fairy. Anyway, a fun fact, Lizzy and her last name Griffiths might have been inspired by the Cottingley Fairies photographer Frances Griffiths, who might have supposedly seen a fairy when she was 9 years old. Finally, we come to Lizzy's widowed father, Dr. Martin Griffiths, voiced by Michael Sheen, whom I remember as Nivens McTwist, the White Rabbit, in the live-action Alice movies, Castor, aka Zeus, in Tron Legacy, and Arthur in 2016's Passengers. In my personal opinion, as a father, while he's not as bad as Buck Cluck from Chicken Little, he's a bit of a mixed bag, due to him not spending more time with Lizzy, as he hardly does anything with her. Also, Martin pushes his daughter away, due to him being motivated by his love for his work and his disbelief in fairies and magic, which would have killed them, since according to J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan play, if anyone ever says that they don't believe in fairies, a random one dies. Also, Martin blames Lizzy for releasing the mispainted Purple Emperor butterfly, which was in reality Tinkerbell's doing. He forces her to grow up too quickly, he discards her scientific fairy research as nonsense, and he attempts to throw all of her drawings into the trash. Thankfully, Martin gets his comeuppance when Tink tells him off, and while Martin takes a captured Vidya to London for research, Lizzy and the other fairies convince him to think otherwise. And now, on to my final words. Overall, Tinkerbell and the Great Fairy Rescue is a really sweet movie in the Tinkerbell spin-off franchise, and it makes a worthy movie to watch during the summer season. The CGI animation is great, even though the weather is mostly rainy. The story is very heartwarming, not just due to it being about Tinkerbell and Lizzy's friendship, but also about fixing the bond between a little girl and her no-nonsense workaholic father. Also, I think the voice actors all do a great job, especially with Michael Sheen and Lauren Mote. The musical score by Joel McNeely is excellent, and the songs are sweet, emotional, and inspirational. I give this movie a 90% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next blog, Mustang Power.